You know that three-letter acronym that comes up at pretty much every doctor's visit? BMI. For decades, we've let this one little number define our health, telling us if we're underweight, normal, or overweight. But what if the whole story's wrong? What if this simple calculation is actually misleading us? Well, let's get into it.
To put it bluntly, yeah. A growing pile of evidence says it's fundamentally flawed. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the body mass index and show you what really matters for your long-term health. And I think you'll find the answer pretty surprising.
So this is it. This is the famous formula. Your weight in kilograms divided by your height in meters squared. I mean, it's simple, right? It's clean, it spits out a single number. But as you're about to see, that simplicity, well, that's its biggest problem.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about why this number, which feels so objective and scientific, is actually, kind of a myth. And we'll look at how it ended up taking over our entire health conversation in the first place.
This quote from our source material just nails it. A statistical relic. I love that phrase. It basically says we're using an old, outdated tool for a job it was never, ever meant to do. So, where on earth did it come from?
The backstory of BMI is really fascinating because it's not a story about some big medical discovery. It's actually the story of a random statistical tool that got pulled out of a dusty old book and then just took over the world by accident.
So get this. Way back in the 1830s, a guy named Adolphe Quetelet, a mathematician, by the way, not a doctor, he comes up with this index, and his goal had nothing to do with individual health. He was a numbers guy. He just wanted a way to describe the average man for population studies. It wasn't until a century later that life insurance companies started using it as a cheap and easy way to assess risk. And then, boom, health organizations adopted it, and here we are.
And this right here shows you the biggest, most obvious problem. Just look at this classic comparison. You've got a super fit athlete, tons of muscle, low body fat. And then you have a sedentary office worker, low muscle, and maybe some extra fat around the middle. According to BMI, the athlete could easily be labeled overweight or even obese, while the office worker gets a thumbs-up normal rating. Why? Because BMI has no clue how to tell the difference between a pound of muscle and a pound of fat. It's just weight.
So let's just lay out the big flaws, one by one. First, like we just saw, it's a huge oversimplification. Second, it doesn't tell you where your fat is, and we all know that belly fat is way more dangerous than fat elsewhere. Third, it's a one-size-fits-all formula that completely ignores huge differences in body types across ethnicities and genders. And finally, and this is a big one, you can have a totally normal BMI and still be dealing with serious health problems like insulin resistance. The number just doesn't connect with what's actually happening inside your body.
Okay, so if we're going to say that BMI is a broken metric, that leads to a pretty important question, right? What are we supposed to be looking at instead? Well, let's pivot and talk about what really counts.
The key is to stop staring at a single static number and start looking at your own personal health journey, your trajectory. Because the real danger signal isn't about fitting into some generic category. It's about a change in your body's own unique blueprint over time.
Okay, this is it. This is the most important idea in this entire explainer. So forget about those BMI charts for just a second and really let this sink in. The single most important factor for your future health is whether or not you gain weight after you've reached your final adult height.
Think about it this way. Around age 18 to 20, you stop growing taller. Right at that point, your body has basically established its natural baseline weight. You can think of it as a set point. This is the weight that your biology, your genetics, your whole system is designed to carry and maintain for the long haul.
Let's make this real with a quick example. Take a guy who's 70 kilos, that's about 154 pounds, at age 20. His BMI is 24.2. He's perfectly normal. Fast forward 20 years. Now he's 40, and he weighs 85 kilos, or about 187 pounds. His BMI is now 29.4, which is technically just overweight, not even obese. The BMI chart isn't flashing red lights, but that 15 kilo or 33-pound gain has dramatically increased his health risks. And those risks are serious. Gaining that weight in adulthood, even if your BMI stays out of the obese zone, is what really jacks up your chances of getting things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, you name it. It is the change from that baseline weight that's the real danger signal, not the final number on the scale. So the question becomes, how do we track the stuff that actually matters? Well, We need to build ourselves a better health dashboard, one that gives us a much richer, more personal picture of our health and moves way beyond one single flawed number. And here are 4 really practical ways to do that. First, just keep an eye on your weight trajectory after your early 20s. Is it creeping up, or has it stayed pretty stable? Second, measure your waistline. It's a fantastic indicator of that dangerous abdominal fat. Third, get your doctor to check your actual metabolic numbers, your blood sugar, triglycerides, things like that. And fourth, probably the simplest one, how do you feel? How's your energy, your strength, your ability to do the things you love? And if you want one simple number that's way better than BMI, try this, your waist-to-height ratio. You just measure your waist, then divide it by your height. If that number is greater than 0.5, meaning your waist is more than half your height, that's a really clear red flag for increased health risks. It's super easy to do at home, and it tells you so much more than BMI ever could.
All right, let's tie all of this together. It's time to completely redefine our goal. The goal isn't to hit a specific BMI number or to fit into some box on a chart. It's about finding and honoring your body's true north.
And this, right here, is the big takeaway. Our source material puts it beautifully. Think of it as the best health insurance policy you can ever give yourself. Simply trying to maintain the weight you had in your early 20s. That's the goal. That's your biological baseline. So from now on, I want you to completely change the question you ask yourself. It's time to stop asking, what's my BMI, and start asking a much smarter, much more powerful question. What's my trajectory? Because your journey since you became an adult, that's the story that truly matters.